Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at New Jersey Digest. If you're looking for the latest in food and culture in our state, you have to check these guys out. Their website and social media is filled with top-tier curation like their coveted guides on restaurants and places to explore in New Jersey. Visit them at thedigestonline.com or on Instagram at NJdigest. Murphy, Schiller & Wilkes is formed with a simple purpose in mind, serving as the one-stop shop for the legal needs of developers, lenders, and others in the commercial real estate industry. Based in Newark, the firm's attorneys represent clients in the most complex real estate transactions and land development proceedings, as well as property taxation, environmental and real estate litigation matters, and in the acquisition, sale, and leasing of all real estate asset types throughout the country. Their attorneys have broad private and public sector experience coming from top national law firms and high-level governmental positions. Through the development of individualized client-focused strategies, their team works tirelessly to create a blueprint for success and advance their clients' interests in every matter. To learn more, head to murphyllp.com or give them a call at 973-877-6984. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We are here in Asbury Park again, one of our favorite spots to visit, at Mutiny BBQ with Tom Dunphy. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. It's a cool little backyard barbecue spot. You got like this little back area that you got your restaurant here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're kind of a hole in the wall on Fifth Avenue in Asbury, but you come through the space down the hallway and you like it's sort of a, am I supposed to be coming back here?
Yeah.
And then it opens up into this whole other space. We do the smoking in front of people. There's a hangout vibe here. You know, it's got like an Austin, Texas feel to it.
Right.
Brooklyn kind of
Less so on the temperature right now, though.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
It's a little cold.
It's not too bad, though. I do think like that is one of the reasons why like there are some really good barbecue spots like yours, and we've had Daddy Matty's like I was talking to you about on the show before, and there's plenty of other like good ones in Jersey. But I do think that that's one of the reasons why barbecue in Jersey like hasn't really like broke through, because it just like it has like just a summertime feel, even though it's like a year-round type thing.
I think so, and I think that there's also just the idea that a lot of people who might try to do barbecue don't want to work in the cold like this. They don't want to work outside. Right. They don't want to be feeding a fire all day. So there's that aspect to it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad that you're doing it, and I'm glad that you're cooking while we're recording, because I could just smell it the whole time, and who doesn't like that? But okay, so we're gonna learn a little about you in this first segment before we kind of like learn about what Mutiny's all about. We're basically gonna take your story all the way up to starting this place. Cool. So, are you a New Jersey native?
I am. Yeah, I'm a local guy, born and raised. Grew up here in Monmouth County in West Long Branch, living with my wife, my 5-year-old son, our dog, right here in Wanamassa, just a couple miles away from the shop. I've been here my whole life. Love this area. Just couldn't imagine kind of being anywhere else.
Yeah.
Been able to, in my adult life, really see the resurgence and kind of the growth and the change that's happening at Asbury Park. It's been really cool to witness.
Yeah, for sure. I would imagine, because I mean, like, it's definitely gone through a lot of seasons of life. For sure, like this town, and to kind of witness it firsthand and then be a part of that, we were talking about before, kind of like a resurgence, especially kind of like further and further away from like the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And I think like that's a big thing too, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the idea now that Asbury Park isn't just a beachfront. It's not just Cookman Avenue.
Yeah.
That we're in this cool part of town up in North Asbury where there's a lot of good restaurants, a lot of stuff happening up here.
Yeah.
So it's very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is like for us, this is like a year-round town for sure. Because like I was here back in December, we were here a couple weeks ago, and now we're just gonna like make a day of today, like with the interviews that I have, because there's, like you said, there's so much stuff going on, which is awesome. Yeah.
The Asbury Park, in terms of the shore towns, is definitely more year-round residential than, say, Point South, Point Pleasant, Seaside Heights towns that
LBI.
That get a little sleepy in that time of year. There's definitely a residential population. There's a professional population here. People that are living and working in town. People that are even from here commuting to New York City or to places north. So certainly much more residential.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so back to you. So born and raised here in this area of Jersey. How long has the restaurant been here?
So we've been here in the brick and mortar on Fifth Ave since December of 2021.
Okay.
I started the business as kind of a side hustle, a weekends only thing while I was working in the corporate world. So we started the business at a place called the Asbury Park Food Collective, which is sort of a ghost kitchen, sort of a commissary space, a place for food trucks to park and plug in, a place for food entrepreneurs to basically take an idea and test the market with it.
Sure.
With limited risk, limited overhead, because you're not going and signing a lease on a space. You're not going in and kind of building a restaurant. You're going to work in a shared space that's already exists.
Yeah.
So we were doing that for weekends while I worked in the corporate world. And
what were you doing in the corporate world?
I did digital strategy, digital content for a large media company.
Okay, cool.
I had an office in New York City, but I traveled a lot, and a lot of my travel took me throughout Texas, throughout a lot of the deep South, Louisiana, Alabama. I was eating barbecue. I was enjoying it and loving not just the food itself, but the vibe and the culture around the food, especially in East and Central Texas.
Yeah.
I grew up working in kitchens, put myself through school as a line cook and in various areas of the restaurant industry. So I was coming home and in my driveway on just my backyard style smokers, just trying to recreate that food and just thinking to myself that I wish that whole vibe and that whole culture was here, not
right.
just the great food, but all of kind of what's built around it.
Yeah. I could imagine, like, sorry to cut you off,
Yeah.
but just like when you have, like, to me, like, food just overall is very social, but I feel like a barbecue type atmosphere is even more social because it's like what, like we were talking about, like what you do in the summer with your friends. Like, you just put something on the grill or put something in the smoker and just sit around, drink a couple beers, and just, like, hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. The hangout culture around barbecue in Texas is amazing. You go to a place like Franklin's in Austin and you're waiting online for hours, but you're hanging out online and you're drinking a beer and you're meeting people and it becomes part of the experience.
Right.
Aside from the food being phenomenal, you've had kind of this unique experience.
Yeah.
So was thinking about that the whole time. I was working in this job. It started out cooking for friends in the backyard. Hey, come over. I made this. I want somebody to try it. Turns into, oh, we're having a party. Can you bring something? Turns into, hey, this is really good. You could probably cater. And then we began this whole operation as a catering business. And working at the Food Collective was a way to do it legit, on paper, legal, right. Inspected, insured, and all that kind of stuff, rather than just doing like the sort of gray area thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely started that way. My dream had always been to be able to do this full time, and even the name Mutiny was sort of about that. It was this idea that I wanted to set my own course, to fly my own flag, et cetera, however you want to say it, that Mutiny was about being able to leave the corporate world and do a thing that I dreamed about, that I was passionate about. I had a good job that I liked, and I liked everyone I worked with, but it wasn't a dream.
Sure.
It was just a job.
Yeah.
So
did at any point, as you're kind of going through this process of like, cooking for your friends and doing these kinds of things, and then going and kind of moving into like the next levels of getting to a place like this, like family, like what was the support level like? Were they just like, Tom, you have a good job. Like, what are you doing? Was it kind of like that?
Or
were they very
that.
supportive?
I think there was some of that.
Sure.
That, hey, you have a job, and and this and that, and you don't want to be pulled in a million directions, or you're taking all of your free time, your entire weekend, every single week, is chasing this other thing.
Yeah.
My wife Martha was completely on board. She shared this dream. She understood. She saw the vision in this. My immediate family, they understood, and I think when I explained to people that, I'm 37 years old. For people in our age bracket, the corporate world isn't necessarily secure.
Right.
You work at a company. It's not like it was for our parents' generation, where they put in their 35 years, they get the gold watch and the pension and the retirement program, and that's it.
That's it.
That doesn't exist for us, and we have to be aware of that, and we have to go out and make our own luck and take risks and secure our own futures.
Yeah.
I saw this not only as a path of self-fulfillment, but as a way to secure a future for my son.
Right.
That, I build a future for my family, and hopefully this goes really well, and I hope we're here for decades, and I hope that it becomes a huge thing.
Yeah.
And then I have something to give to him.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that, and it's cool because with any venture outside of like your corporate job. I mean, like I have a corporate job. Like I'm doing this, so like stuff like that. And, even hearing other stories of people that have gone through similar types of like life experiences. I think it's just interesting because, at the end of the day, like you're the only one that can really control your destiny, like you're at the behest of some corporate whoever, like somebody has a bad day and they're like, you know what, Tom looked at me the wrong way today, like he's done, like I know it's not that extreme, but definitely having like more control over that. So now are you full-time here?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is all I do. My wife still works a full-time job, and this is my whole thing. I'm more than full-time here. I'm here 7 days, 100 hours a week, whatever it is.
Yeah. What was like the first cooker that you were using like in the backyard when you first started trying to recreate like those experiences that you had in these different parts of the country?
So I'll credit my wife. This is going back 10 years at least. She bought me from Home Depot just a master built electric cabinet cooker.
Nice job, Martha. Good job.
Yeah. She knew it was her fault.
Right. So, like this whole thing could trace back to that one thing.
Yeah. I moved from that. I've tried every single type of smoker and barbecue grill and cooker that they make, just because I wanted to know, and I wanted to be a master of all of it. So I went from that to a Weber Smoky Mountain. I went to the dark side and used the Traeger for a little while. Yeah. And then I started cooking offset. I had like a Brinkman Trailmaster, like a 3-foot offset, and then I was burning logs.
Right.
And then I was really tending a fire, and that's when this kind of really took off for me. In 2019, I bought our first trailer. It was a Meadow Creek, built out by Amish and Mennonite welders in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania.
I used to live in Lancaster, fun fact. Yeah, for like a year, but irrelevant.
Drove out there, towed it back, and then that's when we were working on something that was really commercial size and commercial grade, and that we could set things up.
And is that this?
No, this is not that. This is a primitive pit. This was made by the company Primitive Pits in Coal Mountain, Georgia.
Yeah.
I think that there might only be one of these being used commercially in the state of New Jersey besides mine. And actually, I don't know.
Because it's like almost like a year-long wait to get some of these.
Yeah. At the time, I think we had this built in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
It's probably 7 months. But he makes the best of the best. They make the pits for places like Snow's Barbecue, if you've seen the Netflix special, and Louis Mueller, and all these great places in Texas. JD is the one who makes their pits. And when we were going to do this for real, it was like, we got to have the right equipment. We want to make the experience authentic. So, on the wait list, waited forever for it to get made, spec'd out exactly the way I wanted it, and then I drove to Georgia and hooked it and towed it back. Towed it through DC and Baltimore, 95, the Beltway, the whole thing. And
perfect. We were just like the whole time like, oh my God.
It was like, hey, this is my whole life. I'm towing back here. I'm great driving a trailer, and it pulled real straight and everything. It was fine. I'm just really bad at backing up trailers.
It's tough. It's like the reverse of what you would think.
So luckily I went it took me about 15 and a half hours to drive it home from Georgia, and I didn't have to use reverse at all, which is good.
Yeah, that's good for sure. And then so that's cool. And then Texas, I've heard you mention Texas quite a bit, and I feel like that's kind of the style that you're shooting for here, because I know on the website it kind of like lists influences from all these different places, but would you say that's kind of like what you're going for? I think
that Texas is a predominant influence in what we're doing, but we're lucky in a sense here that we're in New Jersey, a place that doesn't have like a stringent identity around its barbecue, so we get to kind of play around. We get to pull in other influences. We get to have fun with it. Yeah. So, like I'll tell people that our pulled pork is a real Eastern Carolina pulled pork, and that goes back to my days vacationing with my family in the Outer Banks, or the rib. I call it like a modified Memphis in the sense that it's mostly dry the whole way. It just gets a little swipe of sauce 90% of the way through the cook.
Yeah.
And that's was inspired by going to Central Barbecue in downtown Memphis, like right off of Beale Street, and just loving that rib and being like, this is the way a rib should be.
Yeah.
The brisket is very, very much a Texas-style brisket. It's very traditionally Central Texas, places like Goldie's, like I mentioned Franklin, the Lockhart Smokehouse, Miller's. that are the influence there. And then everything else is sort of a mishmash. We do a smoked turkey breast, but I do it sort of Cajun style. That's like a throwback to my time in Louisiana, along the Cajun coast in like the deeper part of the state of Louisiana, from Lake Charles to Lafayette to New Orleans. We fly a sausage link in from Central, or from who do we get? From Southside Market in Central Texas, just because we wanted that real authentic hot link that we weren't quite finding from vendors up here.
Right.
And then we do things kind of our own way too that aren't necessarily traditionally barbecue. Like we do a lot of wings, and we smoke them, then we fry them, and that's not really.
I love that.
It's the best way to have wings, and that's not really a thing anywhere. It doesn't come from a particular region of the country. It's just something I started doing because I like smoked chicken. But when I eat a wing, I want it to be crunchy, so it's got to go in the fryer.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. All right, so now that we're talking about Mutiny, we're going to take our first break because now we're going to spend the second segment talking all about what you guys do here and how the whole process works and all that kind of stuff. We're going to wait for the train to go by real fast before I do the outro. I kind of like the train going by. It kind of adds to the ambiance back here.
It's a very Asbury vibe for us. It's kind of our feel.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're going to take our first break of this episode. This is the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Asbury Park, New Jersey today at Mutiny BBQ with Tom Dunphy. We'll be right back. The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes. All right, we're back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We're here in Asbury Park, New Jersey today at Mutiny BBQ with Tom Dunphy. So in the first segment, we learned all about how you started or your life, basically. That's kind of like what we talked about a little bit. Growing up here in Asbury Park, and then eventually, leaving your corporate job to now take on, follow this dream, essentially. And you've been here for now almost a year and a half, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. Time flies. So we learned a little bit about, at the end of that first segment, we learned a little bit about kind of like the influences that kind of go into what goes on here. I'm curious, just kind of because today you're not open, but today you're here cooking, obviously, because that's part of the deal. Take me through kind of your process of when the days that you're open, and then kind of your process to make sure that the stuff is staying on the menu as much as possible, because I know you guys do run out quite a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So selling out is the goal in barbecue, really. So you go down to these places, and people are getting online early in the morning, and by 3 p.m. they've served a long line. At 3 p.m. they're mostly out of things and shut the doors. It's different here in the state of New Jersey. We're sort of challenged this way because we're here in Dinerland, where they have a giant 10-page menu. It's available 24 hours a day, and it's ready in 5 minutes. And they never run out. Yeah. And we love it. But that's sort of an expectation here that's different than down there. So we're a fresh food operation. I'm running the smoker every day. I'll cook the big stuff, pork butts and briskets, a day ahead, and then they get wrapped and they get a long hold in a specialty warming oven in Alto Sham that will hold them kind of at this perfect temperature to finish their process. So they're held above 140 for food safety, but they're held below 170 so that they're not cooking. Yeah, it's just about fat rendering, connective tissue breaking down, collagens breaking down, and just kind of making the most perfectly tender meat that you can imagine. Yeah. And then so my day, I get in 5:30, 6 a.m. I light the smoker. I get stuff on. I get the ribs and turkey on for the day because those need to be kind of done fresh. They don't benefit from the whole the way that the big, heavy, fatty stuff does. So. We open the doors around noon. We're open till 8 most days, and we're just kind of constantly cycling through the smoker. The smoker is big when you're standing next to it, but it's not endlessly big. It's not a big giant commercialized rotisserie that you might see in a supermarket or in kind of a mass production type place. So we have to be really selective about how we use the space on that smoker and what gets cooked and when, so that everything's fresh, everything is delicious, and everything is craft to us. Right. So it's not mass-produced food. It's not just kind of always going to be ready. We're not reheating frozen stuff. We're not shipping it in from some other place. it's made here in-house, fresh, daily, and the difference is just very clear.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're kind of like working out these different recipes, I should have asked this in the first one. The difference, because I mean, like I would think that there's a difference between cooking on, like a Traeger versus a charcoal like smoker versus something like this, like an offset wood smoker.
Yeah.
So kind of like, did that affect kind of as you're progressing through these different like recipes, how like you cooked on this, and then tweaking those again and like the process for that,
Absolutely.
and then also dialing like what kind of wood that you're using here too.
Yeah. So cooking with live fire and cooking with wood as our primary source, of heat, of energy is really important.
Yeah.
It's not pellets. It's not charcoal. It's not just electricity. It's all wood fire all day. And the wood is our second most important ingredient aside from the meat itself. We're cooking with all 100% barkless kiln-dried oak. All oak, that's a Texas thing.
Did they like ship that in too? Or is
No,
that...
this is all local oak, so
Okay.
It's not the post oak that they would have in Texas. So this is all from the area. We work with a company called Wild Logs in Long Branch that are like a cooking wood purveyor, and they do the kiln drying. And we've really dialed this wood in to exactly what we need it to be. So everything from cut length and cut diameter to moisture content.
Yeah.
Because you need a log to be dry enough that it's going to burn fully and burn completely, and it's not going to be backing up a lot of dark, sooty, like kind of green, wet smoke in the cooker. But if it's too dry, like the wood chips or whatever or chunks that you might buy at a big box hardware store, then you've dried out all of the sugars, the tannins, the carbohydrates, the elements in that log of wood that really create flavor.
Yeah.
I liken it a lot to what happens to a whiskey that's aged in a charred oak barrel.
Right.
The notes that it takes on, all of the like kind of the depth and the complexity that happens when you put that mash into the barrel. That's over the aging process.
Right.
It's kind of taking on all of those elements, and our food is doing that too as we burn oak.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's just so cool because it's like barbecue. I feel like just has like this ambiance of being like an art. It's like, oh, you just like touch it and you're like, what temperature it is or like whatever, and you just kind of like know by feel. But then like all the stuff that you're saying too, but there's like a lot of science that goes into all that kind of stuff as well.
The food science was big, and really dialing that kind of stuff in, and even the smoker itself, you look at it and it appears to be two giant propane tanks welded together because that's what it is.
Yeah.
But when I went to the factory to pick this thing up, they have a $100,000 laser that they're shooting through the firebox and through it to make sure that the aerodynamics are right, that it's drawing heat properly.
Right.
It's
like the
it's
smoke is traveling in the right way.
Yeah, over-engineered.
Yeah.
So if we could see inside of this, you would see air moving through this thing at a very fast rate. So ironically, cooking on a larger smoker like this, the stakes are higher because I'm putting, a couple 100 pounds of meat on it in a day, and if I ruin it, that's worse than ruining one brisket that I bought at the grocery store.
Yeah.
But this is easier to do than working on the little cooker because it's a bigger space. It's a little bit more forgiving in terms of if I run it a little hot, or if it dips a little bit, that we can kind of balance that out. But we've also gotten really good at knowing exactly what our burn time is on the logs, exactly how often to feed the fire, what size and shape of a fire that we're going to build, because there's no dials and there's no gauges on it. There's not. I can't just turn the temperature up like a wood on an oven. When I want to control the fire, I'm either controlling airflow or I'm literally controlling the size of the fire I've built in terms of spacing of the logs and just how much fuel I'm putting on it, and then where I position the fire within the firebox.
Yeah.
Closer to the food side, or I'll pull it closer to the door side, and that's going to gradually raise and lower temperatures for us.
And then, so, I mean, I know obviously, like, how to do this. Staff, do you have staff running your pit too, or like do you just...
Mostly I'm here, so that was a big decision that we had to make.
Yeah, because that's like you said, a couple $100 worth of, in some cases maybe even more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Of meat and the wood too, like all the stuff, and then you're pretty much screwed for an entire day.
Right.
Like it's not like you're gonna be
mess
like,
it up.
oh wait, I'll come in and I'll fix it. You can't do that.
So we're really blessed with a really great staff. a really strong staff and people who get this and who are great learners and who have kind of just opened themselves up to learning about this completely new cooking process to them. A thing that we did when we started the restaurant was I had plenty of cooking experience, as I mentioned,
right.
but I wanted a chef with real fine dining experience in this place because I wanted to bring those processes and those techniques, and I wanted to really respect this food, and I wanted to elevate it. So we hired a chef named Austin O'Brien, who has just a great resume. He was over at Modine here in Asbury Park. He worked in several David Burke kitchens, and he brings a lot of technique and experience into this kitchen that helps to elevate what we're doing. And so all of this and all this food is now a collaborative process between he and I, and it works out phenomenally well.
Yeah.
So he has taken to the barbecue side of this really well, and he really loves it. And he's just the type of guy who also just went and started to watch all the videos and do all the research and read everything he could read about it because it was interesting to him.
Yeah.
And he wanted it to be great.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And that's really important to have in something
Absolutely.
like this, especially like kicking off something that like you have experience in kitchens and all that kind of stuff. But running a restaurant is a completely different animal for sure.
It really is. And we were really lucky staff-wise that we had so many great people that came in. We treat people well and we take care of them, and they do the same in turn for us. But like running a restaurant is such a challenge. I joke around. I always say that we learned every lesson the hardest way possible.
Yeah.
Every single one that you can learn in this industry, we had to kind of take it on the chin.
Yeah.
So we opened in December of 2021, and we were slammed every day, and it was great. And if you remember at the time, there was sort of the Omicron variant. It was like a COVID resurgence.
Yeah. Yep.
And
like everybody and their mother was getting it.
We all got COVID.
Yeah.
And not just that you had it, and it's like, oh, I have it. It's inconvenient.
Yeah.
Had it bad. Like I was like close to maybe being in the hospital. Couldn't breathe and all this. And this was also a time when you really, as a business owner, you needed to be transparent about what was going on with COVID. If you had COVID, the expectation was, according to all the CDC guidelines, and just really what was responsible was, you close 2 weeks, you're done.
Right.
So,
and for a brand new business, being that busy out of the gate, that sucks.
Yeah, it took all the wind out of our sails. I remember being out here, just taking meat off the smoker and throwing it right out because it could have been contaminated. You have to be responsible. You can't do anything with it. And then we reopened after the 2 weeks, first week of January, to the slowest week of the year for restaurants. Everybody knows it, and it was just like, oh Lord, it was difficult. And then every piece of refrigeration in this place broke at the same time in the first 2 weeks. So we lost a refrigerator full of meat.
Yeah.
And then we had to pay to fix it all.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of downtime because just going through, we felt like it was trial by fire. It was very difficult for a long time. And then we got to summer, and it just felt like that first summer, like a weight had been lifted off. We were busy, but we all wanted to be busy.
Right.
And the catering business picked back up as people were planning like their summertime weekend events, and we just kind of rode that through.
Awesome.
But this industry is hard. It's hard on people, and it's hard to succeed in this business and still be a good person and still be an honest person. And I'm happy that I feel I was able to keep doing that.
Right, which is great. I love that. And that's honestly part of the reason why you're here. On the show. The stuff that sells out the fastest here, because we talked about how that's a big thing for a barbecue spot. The stuff that sells out the fastest, I would imagine, would be the stuff that people like the best. So what are things that you see selling out quickly, on a normal work day?
Amazingly, our turkey sells out really quick.
I would not have picked that.
Turkey, we don't prepare a ton of it because we want it hot and fresh every single day.
Right.
It's really expensive right now with the avian flu.
That's right, yeah.
And it's one of those things that's
like running into every wall possible.
Exactly. It's one of those things that people try and they're just like kind of wowed. It's just different what they expect.
Yeah.
I didn't even think I liked turkey until I started smoking it myself because I was just used to your family's dried out Thanksgiving bird
that nobody really knows how to make, but they do it the least worst, Yeah.
So, ribs are sellout on them, and then after that the brisket. We've things like the pork, wings, that stuff's almost always going to be here.
Yeah.
Especially this time of year. The sellout doesn't happen as often in the summertime, some of those early items. But we tell people to get on our order form early and get it reserved and schedule it for whenever you want. And if you want to eat it here, just write, hey, we're going to dine in.
Yeah.
Then it's yours.
And they could do all that through the website,
yes.
right? Yeah, so you just go on the website, you basically order, and then...
Yeah.
But they also could, if they wanted to, risk it, come in and order? Yeah.
I wouldn't even say it's a risk because most of the time the whole menu's available.
Okay.
If you come in, if it's Saturday night at 7 o'clock, you're running the risk. But then I just tell people too, like, just come in. It's easy. If we don't have this, I'll sell you something else and you're gonna love it. Right. So it's easy.
Yeah. And then sides, because I feel like that's also a big barbecue thing. Like, what are like the go-to sides here?
Gotta have the sides. People love the mac and cheese.
That's like a barbecue staple.
Yeah. We make a really nice cheese sauce, cheddar and Gruyere, and just we put a little crumbled Cheez-It cracker on top just for fun.
Yeah.
We make a cornbread casserole that people are curious about at first, and then they end up loving. Just a sort of almost a souffle style cornbread where it's lighter, scooped, kind of airy, versus just kind of a brick of crumbly cornbread that's been sitting in for however long it was made in. That was made in a factory in Patterson or something like that. And, we just bake it here.
Yeah. No, that's awesome because the sides are, that's what makes it. You can't just eat straight up meat all the time. I mean,
sides are part of the experience in barbecue for
absolutely.
sure.
Like, because I mean, one of the things that I've always have been watching, because Instagram is obviously one of the spots that's where we connected.
Yep.
That's where I connect with probably 99% of my guests. And just seeing like the pictures of your trays, they're just always so like well done. And I'm sure they're not just done for the gram.
Oh no!
But they're just everything on there. Just like, wow, I want that. I want it all, obviously. So
the big tray, that was the thing that we kind of brought here, and that's why we introduced with our market style of ordering, where you're ordering meat by the pound or quarter pound. You're ordering sides kind of in deli tubs, so that we could do that, so people could eat family style, and that we could make beautiful trays for them and kind of fan everything out.
Right.
So. I love it, and that's the way I like to eat barbecue when I'm in a place that's known for barbecue. It took a little while for people to kind of catch on to that and figure that all out, but we answer questions and we talk you through an order, and then, so we ended up adding combo plates, make it real easy, like meat and two sides, adding sandwiches, just meat on a bun with a side of fries, just to kind of lower the barrier of entry for people, just to kind of make it relatable and make it simple and let them come in and be able to order something.
Yeah, and then once they're in, then they're hooked.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, great. So we're going to take our second break of this. Do we hit all the stuff that we're supposed to hit?
I think so, yeah.
Everyone should know everything they need to know about Mutiny BBQ now.
Absolutely.
So we're going to take our second and our last break of this episode. So this is the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. We're here in Asbury Park at Mutiny BBQ with Tom Dunphy. We'll be right back. Bored of going to the same park? Want to try a new local adventure? Well, then check out NJspots.com, your home for finding a new spot to discover right here in New Jersey. With dozens of maps to check out, local hiking spots, family-friendly places, and seasonal suggestions, NJspots is waiting for you to find somewhere new to explore. That's NJspots.com. All right, welcome back for this final segment of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We're here at Mutiny BBQ in Asbury Park with Tom Dunphy. So first segment, we learned all about you. Second segment, we learned all about kind of like the process that goes in and what Mutiny BBQ is all about and the stuff that sells out the fastest and the stuff that people should order online before they actually come here, or just stop in and learn how they can get one of those cool trays that I see on Instagram. In our third segment, what we do, it's personally my favorite episode because it's such a community-driven type show, just like people from Jersey. We're talking about your relationship with the community, which I know off mic before we were talking. You obviously have like a lot of stuff that you guys are involved with, and then obviously growing up in the area, close by, all that kind of stuff. You have a different kind of tie than maybe some people do to the area that they're opening a business in. So, what are some things that are important to you, like stuff that you're kind of ingrained in the Asbury Park community with?
Absolutely. So, I mean, speaking about my personal life and growing up in this area and loving this town for so long, I'm a musician, been playing in bands my whole life, and the punk scene and the greater independent music scene in this town is something that we really hold close to the heart. It's something that matters a lot to us. You come in here, you're going to hear local bands on the stereo. You're going to see local bands eating in here. We really have a love and appreciation for the local music scene in this town. I think, you go in our bathroom and you see all my old show flyers hanging up and things like that. So, we're looking at ways that we can stay involved in and use the restaurant not just as a place for people to eat and enjoy, but as a creative space. So we have a guy who works for us who's known around town as Ed the Punk. He books shows. He's a great employee, but he's also kind of our mascot sometimes, and he's our biggest cheerleader and our biggest fan. And Ed is really involved in town with a lot of the music, and he's going to be working with us to figure out how we're going to incorporate live original music into what we do here.
Yeah.
And it's so important. It's very unique to Asbury Park and the arts community in here, in this town. The creators, the makers, the unique individuals are such a crucial part of what makes this place special.
Yeah.
And what you don't want to see is, as development continues, as big money comes through here, as this place is kind of gradually converted into a resort town for some people who live in other parts of the state and in other neighboring states, you don't want to see the culture get wiped out. You don't want to see kind of what makes this place great be turned into condos.
Yeah.
So
that's so funny because I told you we were talking about Tim McClune. We had him on the show last summer, and like that was one of the things that he was talking about, how like he's almost worried that there's going to be a point where Asbury Park becomes so gentrified that it kind of pushes all like that culture and all like the uniqueness of the town almost out, but it's like important to kind of keep it all here.
And no offense to anybody that lives up there,
yeah,
but we don't want this to be Hoboken by the sea.
Right.
Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah.
And Mutiny BBQ Company is a really interesting place in the community because we're up here in the northwest part of town. We get a great mix of people through. So we have customers who live in the Asbury Ocean Club, the big giant high-rise tower,
yeah,
who are sitting eating alongside people who live in public housing, because everybody can afford and enjoy the food here.
Yeah.
Which is so, if we're going to be in this community, we're going to be serving this community, we wanted to serve the entire community.
Right.
The Asbury Park has its place for very high-end, expensive dining. We can do that. We can do really high-quality food, and we can do it in a way that is approachable and that is here for everybody.
Yeah.
And that was a big goal for us coming in. Like, you know what? Our technique, the quality of our ingredients is as good as anybody else in this town. Literally anybody. But we're just going to be unpretentious about it.
Right. Yeah.
And so beyond that, we're also here on an established block. It's 808 Fifth Ave in Asbury Park, and we're right next to Georgie's Bar. And I really looked forward to the opportunity to open next to this place because it's such a landmark in the state for the LGBTQIA community that I knew immediately going in that, hey, we're going to be here. We're going to be real allies. We're going to be full participants. We're going to figure out ways that we can help. And we're not gonna phone it in and put a rainbow flag up for Pride Month and then just disappear for the rest of the time. We're right next door to this place that is so important to an entire community, and we wanted to fully embrace it, and we have.
Yeah.
So they're amazing because they give back so much to the community, and they've welcomed us in a way to give back as well. So when they're having a benefit fundraiser on a Sunday afternoon, we can provide food for that, and we can provide giveaways for silent auctions and things like that.
Yeah.
We're 2 blocks away from an amazing place that most people don't know about called the Center. The Center is a residential home for people dealing with HIV and AIDS, and they provide life-saving necessary services for those people. Every year, the Center's biggest fundraiser is an event called the Center a la carte. It's going to be, I believe, May 19th of this year at the Berkeley Hotel, where 25 of the best restaurants in town, including us, go there and do a tasting for everyone. And it's this amazing fundraiser,
awesome
performances, and all that kind of stuff. And the Center relies on us. We bring food over there sometimes. They rely on people in the community like us to help them. We're right across the street from the VNA, and the PRN over there, the Prevention Resource Network, is a huge, helpful program for the gay community in terms of safe sex and prevention and testing, the addiction services, all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
We're right around the corner from Project Real, which is an outreach program for trans youth and for gay youth and everything like that. They have a whole trans empowerment program. All of these great programs that are right here on this block. So when we came in, we're on their turf.
Yeah.
We're in their space, and we want to make sure that we're doing our part and that we're fully embracing it, and that we're that we're being the allies that this community needs, and we hope that we are.
Right. And so I love all of that, and honestly, like all of the people that we've had on here in Asbury have been very much like very similar, not exactly the same, but very similar in like their approach to like the community, which is another reason why I love the community and love coming down to businesses down here, because like when I go there and I'm like, oh, hey Tom, like what's up, and then like it's just a totally different thing. But you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So then I think also what is interesting too in this segment that we do is almost like kind of the reverse relationship. So like you mentioned that you're on like their turf, and so to speak. And like when you guys opened up, like what was the reception like overall, and then kind of like reaching out to you to get you involved in different things going on in the community?
We were welcomed immediately by everybody in Asbury. It's amazing that not just by the not just by the gay community, or not just by like the people in this neighborhood.
Right.
The people in the neighborhood love it. Like this is actually very residential over here.
Yeah.
A lot of people year round. They were so happy that we were here. I was also really taken aback almost by how welcoming the restaurant industry was to us here.
Yeah.
Because here you are, and there was never a sense of like, here's this new person coming in to compete with us. We got so much positive feedback and help from all of the restaurants in town. When we were working at the Asbury Park Food Collective, it was actually owned by the guys who own Mogo. So I still haven't been to Mogo. You got to do it. It's incredible. They were not only just super helpful for us in launching all of this, and always been such great friends to us, and always been, mentors in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That the entire food community, so many people who own restaurants came through here and supported us, especially early on. So many people have wanted to collaborate and have reached out. So we're doing a lot of that too.
That's awesome.
Whether it's we're making a pulled pork pizza with killer pies, or we're doing like a cornbread cupcake with a wing on it with confections of Rockstar. We did a beer with Wild Air Beer Works. We did a Korean style beef rib with Mogo. We made a banana pudding ice cream with Cookman Creamery. We're always looking to collaborate with local businesses and all that kind of stuff, and it's been amazing. Like even today, you're here. We're hosting a pop-up for a friend's concept of mine called Trixie's Chicken, where he makes these killer Southern style fried chicken sandwiches and just everything from scratch, and just really, really good and high end, but just fun and delicious and approachable.
Yeah. That's awesome. All the stuff that you just said, I love. Like, I love the collaboration between places like that. I love, that's honestly, like, the reason why I love the community segment is because you just start to learn more about, because obviously we've done a ton of local businesses. Like, at the time of this recording, I think we're like 67 episodes in. I think today was episode 67. And so there's been so many different kinds of places, restaurants, not restaurants, businesses, nonprofits, and then, like, the way that they interact with their local communities, whether it's just, like, the people that frequent them, or in this case, like, working with other restaurants to kind of, like, do cool stuff. Because, rising tides lift all boats. And if, like, there's a lot of cool places doing cool stuff, this makes it more of an attractive place for people to come and get involved with and, come visit and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to wrap this up. So if people want to learn more about Mutiny BBQ, where are some places that they can go to do that?
Definitely check us out, mutinybbq.com. That's the website. Online ordering is there. We're on the delivery apps through DoorDash and Grubhub. Come and see us, 808 5th Ave in Asbury Park. We're really conveniently located. It's free parking on the street. There's always parking available. Check us out on Instagram at Mutiny BBQ. It's the same, facebook.com/MutinyBBQ. That's really the primary place that we kind of communicate and interact with our customers, our audience, aside from here in person. those are really the big ones.
Awesome. All right, so I will make sure that I put those in the show notes. That way everybody listening can just go click those and go check it out. So if you're in the area, you know where to go. Tom, thank you so much for doing this with us today.
Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is such a cool, I can't wait for like the summertime to come through here and sit out here and have some barbecue. I'm very excited.
It's cold right now, but we heat the space up.
Yeah.
Under normal circumstances.
Yeah. Normal circumstances. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. But all right, so for everybody listening, thank you so much for listening. Again, we were at Mutiny BBQ in Asbury Park, New Jersey with Tom Dunphy. I'm Mike Ham. This has been the Greens from the Garden State Podcast. We'll catch you next time.